LIV Golf just experienced a moment so powerful, so emotionally overwhelming, that even the league's biggest critics had to acknowledge something special happened in Johannesburg. This wasn't about controversy or money or tour politics. This was about pure emotion, national pride, and two South African golfers standing on their home soil in front of a crowd that literally brought them to tears. What actually happened on that first tee that left Oosthuizen and Charl Schwartzel crying? Why did this tournament feel different from every other LIV event? And how did one moment in South Africa expose something about golf's global appeal that tours have been missing for years? Let's start with the scene that nobody who witnessed it will ever forget. LIV Golf South Africa opened at Houghton Golf Club in Johannesburg, and when Oosthuizen and Charl Schwartzel, the two home country heroes captaining the Southern Guards team, walked to the first tee Thursday morning, they encountered something neither had experienced in decades of professional golf. The noise was deafening, the energy was overwhelming, and the pride radiating from thousands of South African fans created an atmosphere so intense that both players admitted they started crying before they even hit their tee shots. Lewis described the moment with raw honesty in the post-round press conference. He and Schwartzel were standing on the tee talking, and Lewis looked over to watch Charl's tee shot. Tears started forming, so he put his sunglasses on because he felt so proud, but didn't want to completely break down. Then Charl told him the same thing was happening to him, that he was nearly crying and struggling to hold it together. These are two major champions who've competed on the biggest stages in golf, who've handled pressure at Masters and Open Championships, and they were tearing up on the first tee of a regular season LIV event. If you want to understand why this moment was so significant, hit that like button and subscribe, because what happened next reveals something profound about sports and national identity. Charl's description captured the physical sensation of that moment even more vividly. He said they played many tournaments in their careers, but walking up to that first tee and hearing the noise was something that happens very few times in a career. His exact words were that his hair stood up, needles went through his body, and he started tearing up while thinking he needed to hit a tee shot but was busy crying. That level of emotion from a professional athlete who's seen everything the sport offers tells you this wasn't manufactured or exaggerated. This was genuine, overwhelming feeling. The crowd support went beyond just loud cheering. Schwartzel revealed that he'd actually called Oosthuizen the night before the tournament because his back injury was so severe he wasn't sure he could play. He told Lewis he was worried about dropping the team, that his back was really bad and he'd rather let somebody else play than come out and perform poorly. Lewis convinced him to at least try, saying they'd come a long way together and Schwartzel deserved to play. The preparation Schwartzel went through just to compete shows the severity of his injury. Normally, he arrives at the course 2 hours before his tee time. For this round, he was there 4 hours early, going through jacuzzi therapy, another type of bath treatment, dry needling, and multiple other treatments, taking tablets for pain management. He was doing everything possible just to be physically capable of swinging a club. And then he said something remarkable that captures the power of what happened. He said he didn't know if he would have gotten through the day without the crowd support lifting him the way it did. Here's what makes that statement so powerful. Schwartzel wasn't just being diplomatic or thanking fans politely, he was admitting that crowd energy literally carried him through physical pain that nearly forced him to withdraw. That's not normal in professional golf. Crowds don't typically have that kind of tangible impact on player performance, especially regarding physical limitations. But the atmosphere in Johannesburg was so intense, so emotionally charged, that it became a legitimate performance-enhancing factor. And here's the truly shocking part. Despite all the injury concerns and emotional overwhelm, Schwartzel shot better than Oosthuizen by 3 shots. He went out there compromised physically, crying on the first tee, uncertain if he could complete the round, and still performed at a high level because the energy from South African fans was so powerful. Oosthuizen joked afterward that he'd be doing exactly the same preparation routine Schwartzel did the next morning since it apparently worked so well. The Southern Guards team as a whole responded to the hometown pressure by taking the first round lead. All 4 team members played well, feeding off each other and the crowd energy to post scores that put them at the top of the leaderboard. Oosthuizen described watching Dean Burmester hitting bombs down the fairway behind him, seeing Schwartzel make putts in front of him, checking the leaderboard to see Brandon Grace playing really well, and feeling that collective performance pushing everyone higher. What makes this LIV South Africa moment so significant isn't just the emotion itself. It's what it reveals about golf's global appeal and how tours have historically failed to tap into national pride the way other sports do. South African golf fans have been starving for meaningful professional golf on their soil for years. The European Tour visits occasionally, but those events don't carry the weight or star power that creates truly special moments. The PGA Tour rarely, if ever, comes to South Africa, meaning local fans almost never get to see the world's best players compete in person. LIV Golf brought star power, brought major champions who are national heroes, and gave South African fans ownership of something that felt uniquely theirs. Oosthuizen specifically mentioned promising everyone that South African fans would bring the vibe and prove they're a big sporting nation. That statement carried weight because South Africa has incredible sports culture around rugby, cricket, and soccer, but golf has never quite tapped into that same fervent national pride at the professional level. The success of this event challenges assumptions about where golf tours should focus their energy and resources. The PGA Tour concentrates heavily on American markets with occasional international stops that feel more obligatory than strategic. LIV Golf, with its smaller schedule and exhibition-style format, has more flexibility to go to markets hungry for professional golf and create events that feel like cultural moments rather than just tournaments. Golf analyst commentators noted that the Johannesburg atmosphere rivaled Ryder Cup energy levels, which is remarkable because Ryder Cup crowds are famously the loudest and most passionate in golf. Creating that kind of environment at a regular season team event shows that the formula of national pride plus star players plus fans who rarely get access to elite golf can produce something special that transcends typical tournament golf. Critics of LIV Golf, and there are many legitimate ones, often focus on the league's Saudi financial backing, its impact on tour structure, and questions about competitive legitimacy. But what happened in Johannesburg can't be dismissed or diminished by those broader concerns. This was a genuine sporting moment that resonated with fans and players in ways that feel increasingly rare in modern professional golf. The post-round press conference revealed something else significant about how the Southern Guards players who viewed this event. When asked about performing in front of hometown crowds with all that pressure, they described it not as burden but as inspiration. The pressure didn't crush them or make them play tentatively. It elevated them because it meant something beyond just prize money or tour points. It was about representing their country well in front of people who desperately wanted them to succeed. That dynamic creates the kind of meaningful competition that draws fans beyond golf's core audience. Casual sports fans who wouldn't normally watch golf tuned in to LIV South Africa because they wanted to see local heroes perform under pressure on home soil. That's how you grow the sport and attract new audiences, by creating events that matter culturally rather than just competitively. The question facing LIV Golf now is whether they can replicate this kind of authentic emotion at other tour stops, or whether Johannesburg was a one-time perfect storm of circumstances. The league has struggled with attendance and fan energy at some venues, particularly in the United States where the novelty has worn off. And the team format hasn't quite captured sustained interest. But South Africa showed that in the right markets with the right storylines, LIV can create golf moments that rival anything happening on traditional tours. What Oosthuizen and Charl Schwartzel experienced on that first tee wasn't about LIV versus PGA Tour politics or Saudi money or any of the controversial elements that usually dominate coverage. It was about two golfers who grew up dreaming of bringing world-class professional golf to their country, standing in front of fans who'd waited years for this opportunity, feeling emotions so overwhelming they cried before competing. That's sport at its purest level, stripped of everything else and reduced to the fundamental human connection between athletes and communities. LIV Golf got emotional in Johannesburg, and what happened shocked everyone because it proved that beneath all the controversy and political tension, golf can still create moments of genuine feeling that transcend everything else. Whether the league can build on that momentum or whether South Africa remains an isolated example of LIV reaching its potential remains to be seen, but nobody who witnessed those tears on the first tee can deny that something real and powerful happened in Johannesburg.